Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Why You Should Play series. And today we're going to be discussing one of the best as well as well-balanced science champs in the game, and that is Mr. Negative. Now, Mr. Negative, he's pretty much been in the game for a while, and since then only a few people have sort of saw his potential and pretty much see the value in him. He is a pretty underrated champion, one that definitely does take a while to master. However, once you do master him, he becomes just an absolute beast. Now, like we always do with these kinds of videos, let's actually go over all of his abilities first, and then later on discuss why you should play him. Now, Mr. Negative, he's pretty much immune to all of Nullify, Stagger, as well as Fate Steal effects, and the potency of the opponent's degen effects are reduced by 40% for each unique debuff that they suffer. Now, while he's evading, Mr. Negative pretty much counters this with a hit, dealing a burst of physical damage and granting the opponent power equal to a medium attack. Now, as for his heavy attacks, the first hit will grant him a Fury buff, which increases his attack rating by a certain amount for 10 seconds. And while he's charging a heavy attack, if he has one or more light energy active, he will gain a 100% chance to evade against any basic attack. But moving on to his light energy. Whenever either champion performs a well-timed block, Mr. Negative will gain +2 light energy. Dashing back removes all of the buffs on Mr. Negative and grants him a single light energy per buff that was removed. His light energy charges also last indefinitely until he reaches 10, and after that, all of these stacks will expire over 6 seconds. Now, moving on to his dark energy. If he performs an evade or is knocked down, all of his light energy will then be converted into dark energy. These dark energies will pretty much last indefinitely until he reaches 10 stacks, and after that they'll pretty much all expire over 16 seconds. While he's suffering from a disorient, all of his dark energy will be removed and additional dark energy cannot be gained. Each time he does gain dark energy though, he inflicts a delirium debuff lasting a flat 0.8 seconds per light energy converted. An opponent suffering from this debuff will also suffer negative 60% defensive combat power rate and will also have their dash as well as dodge, control reverse controls, whatever you call it. But moving on to the special attacks. Special 1. On activation, he gains a Bulwark passive for 30 seconds, increasing his block proficiency by a certain amount for each light energy, and it'll then convert all of his light energy into dark energy. And also, the final hit will inflict an exhaustion debuff, lowering the opponent's critical damage rating by a certain amount for 20 seconds. The Special 2. The first hit will inflict a Petrify debuff of 80% potency for 20 seconds, and the second hit will inflict another Petrify if there are 10 or more dark energy active, and the third hit will inflict a Degeneration debuff, which deals up to a certain amount of direct energy over 10 seconds, and the final hit will consume all of his remaining dark energy and inflict one additional degen for each dark energy consumed. And finally, the Special 3. It inflicts a Delirium debuff for 20 seconds, as well as it consumes all of his light energy and regens a certain amount of his health. It also consumes all of his dark energy and deals a burst of direct damage to the opponent. But moving on to the Awakened ability. Whenever a Nullify, Stagger, or Fate Steal is prevented, he will deal a burst of physical damage onto the opponent, and while he's suffering from a degen, he actually regenerates a certain amount of health per second. Each light energy will grant him additional energy resistance, as well as each dark energy will deal additional physical damage every second, while the opponent is suffering from a non-damaging debuff. However, this only scales with base attack only. And that is Mr. Negative. Definitely fitting of the science class with the amount of debuffs he has, and one of the more unique abilities in the game, such as regenerating from degen. He's a very strong character as well as one that deals a lot of damage pretty fast. However, of course, once you do launch that, you'll pretty much have to start over. But moving on to this man's strip. I don't know, man. I'm not too sure about this one. The man is negative, so give him a negative attire. I don't know. He has a stick that literally shakes or something. The cool factor definitely is there, but me personally, it just isn't that great. I do like the cut though. The cut is clean, I will admit that. And I guess he has hand tattoos, or is that? I don't even know, man. Oh my god. But moving on to the topic of why you should play him. Now, Mr. Negative, as you can see in the gameplay, he deals a ton of degen damage. And as for his abilities, he has a ton of utility, and he can pretty much take a lot of fights. If you want to see the best of this dude, I pretty much recommend you to go over to Mcoc's channel and pretty much check out his clips, because this guy is an absolute beast. Now, unfortunately, it does take a lot of skill to get good with him, as well as just to manage his light and dark energy. The light energy does expire very fast, however, the dark energy does take a bit longer, but it'll still be quite a hassle to keep these two up unless you're really good at playing this dude. He's definitely not a champion that you can just pick up right away and be good with him. He does take some practice as well as some dedication in order to get the best out of him. And not to mention, he can pretty much be Quake as a 6-star if you pair him up with Valkyrie. Bro, what? He's pretty much a champion that's made for short to medium length fights. As a Battlegrounds attacker, he is very good as well as very underrated. And as a Battlegrounds defender, he definitely isn't the worst, because he does sort of inflict the Delirium debuff on the opponent, which reverses their controls. And depending on how the opponent messes up, they can pretty much get a fast and easy kill. But that is it for Mr. Negative. Let me know down in the comments who next I should make a video on. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace! It's not much, but in the right angle. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.